Hello everyone, and welcome to this Diablo 3 dungeon guide for the Necromancer Trag'Oul's avatar set. We'll be going over how to set up your character, and I'll also explain how to complete both primary dungeon objectives. Keep watching until the end to see a full playthrough of the entire set dungeon with additional tips. To get started, let's first take a look at the set bonuses so we'll know how to gear out our character. This set revolves around life spending and healing abilities. The set bonuses are extremely straightforward, but the playstyle can be a bit tricky. Life spending abilities that deal damage to our character receive a damage buff, so they will need to be used. The amount of damage that is done is percentage based, so we are not supremely motivated to add life to our base health pool, but it is still beneficial to avoid taking fatal hits for monsters. To offset the use of life spending abilities, healing from skills also receives a couple of increased benefits from the set bonuses. In addition to costing life, our main damage dealing ability also costs essence resource, and we will need to cast it often. Therefore, overall, toughness and essence generation are the main priorities for the gearing and skill setup. In this setup, we are using 5 of the 6 set pieces in the head, shoulders, torso, legs, and feet slots. In the hand slot, we have Tasker and Theo, which provides an increase to minion attack speed. We'll be using the Skeletal Mage skill as our main damage dealing and life spending attack. In the wrist slot, we take Reaper's Wraps, which provides some additional essence resource generation. And in the waist slot, we have Dainty's Binding, which provides a toughness bonus when using a curse. In the main hand slot, we have Funerary Pick, which provides a buff to the Siphon Blood skill. And in the offhand slot, we have Iron Rose, which also provides a buff to Siphon Blood. In the next slot, we take a Hellfire Amulet. There aren't any extra passive skills that are overly useful, but you might receive a small bonus. In one of the finger slots, we take Circle of Neluja's Evil, which adds extra minions for our Skeletal Mage skill. And in the other finger slot, we have Charisman Sentence, which provides a damage boost. When it comes to rerolling stats on the gear, the top priority is toughness, as mentioned previously. We should have plenty of damage output to clear the dungeon within the time limit, so extra toughness will allow us to more comfortably move throughout the dungeon using our life spending abilities. For Kanai's Cube in the weapon slot, we have Scythe of the Cycle for increased damage output. In the armor slot, we take Requiem Seraplate, which provides increased essence and life generation. This legendary power will help complete the second primary dungeon objective much faster. And in the jewelry slot, we have Ring of Royal Grandeur, which allows us to gain the 6-piece set bonus while only having 5 of the 6 set pieces equipped. For gems, we have a diamond in the head slot for cooldown reduction, topazes in the torso and leg slots, and an emerald in the weapon slot. For legendary gems, we have Enforcer and Bane of the Trapped for increased damage, and Esoteric Alteration for increased toughness. For Paragon, the main priorities are movement speed, life, and resource cost reduction. Next, let's go over the skills. We'll be using Skeletal Mage with the Life Support rune, which is our main damage dealing and life spending skill. Next, we have Devour with the Cannibalize rune. This skill is our main essence and life generation skill. Next, we take Blood Rush for extra mobility. The rune choice doesn't matter since the 2-piece set bonus provides the effect of every rune. Then, we have Bone Armor, which provides a toughness increase. With the Thy Flesh Sustained rune, this is also another life spending skill. Next, we take Siphon Blood with the Power Shift rune. We take this skill as a backup to Devour, and we'll use it to generate essence or life when needed. Then we have Frailty with the Aura of Frailty rune for increased damage output. For the passive skills, we have Fueled by Death, which provides increased movement speed. Then we take Dark Reaping, which provides essence and life after each kill. Next, we have Extended Servitude, which increases the duration of Skeletal Mages. And lastly, we take Grisly Tribute, which provides some extra healing from minions' attacks based on your life on hit. To benefit from this passive skill, you will need some life on hit on gear. However, it is not recommended to go out of your way to reroll gear pieces with life on hit, since this passive skill is not critical in completing the primary dungeon objectives. Now let's go over the dungeon objectives. The first primary dungeon objective is to spend 1000% of your life on abilities. You will accomplish this objective by casting the Skeletal Mage skill, and to a lesser extent the Bone Armor skill. You are already motivated to summon Skeletal Mages since it is your main damage dealing attack, so you will inherently make progress toward this objective without much extra effort. You will just want to monitor your life pool as you cast them to make sure that you are not getting critically low on health. You should try to anticipate incoming damage with a large pack of enemies or nearby elite monsters and back away from them to avoid getting killed. This is true particularly in the initial part of the dungeon as you're working to get 10 stacks of bone armor for its toughness benefit. You'll want to carefully monitor this objective as you're progressing through the dungeon. If your damage output is too high, then you may be moving too fast and might kill all the monsters before you've completed the objective. So just take your time, repeatedly summoning Skeletal Mages and using Devour on corpses you leave behind to refill your life and essence. The second primary dungeon objective is to heal 1000% of your life with abilities. Similar to the first objective, you should inherently make progress toward this objective without much extra effort. As you are casting life spending abilities, you will need to refill your life to continue casting and survive. You'll mainly make progress toward this objective by using the Devour skill on corpses left behind from enemies you've killed. You can also cast the Siphon Blood skill to gain some extra life generation and help kill monsters. Next, let's take a look at the dungeon map. The best way to approach this dungeon is to stick to the outer wall and loop all the way around it, finishing off the interior section at the end. Make sure you clear all the side rooms and offshoot passages as you go, so you won't have to pass through the dungeon a second time looking for stragglers. The connectivity of some of the rooms will make it a little awkward, since monsters may exit a room you've initially passed and pursue you from behind. Don't feel bad if you need to backtrack in small sections, so you can clear out each area before you move on. Just keep an eye on your minimap, uncovering all of it as you go. So now that you have the setup and you know how to approach the dungeon, let's head to it. Go to Act 4, then to the Upper Realm of Cursed Fate waypoint. From there, head southeast down the stairs and follow the main path. The dungeon entrance is on the left side just as you enter the labyrinth area. And next, we'll look at the playthrough. For this run, I went with very bare bones gear to demonstrate techniques. Any additional items or stats that you get, consistent with the recommendations earlier, will give you a much easier time completing the dungeon. Once inside the dungeon, head to the first group of monsters. Cast Bone Armor first, then start summoning mages with the Skeletal Mage skill. Be very careful in the beginning. You will be relatively weak on toughness without several stacks of Bone Armor up. Don't spam too many mages at once. You don't want to purposely drop your health too much before you get the Bone Armor stacks. Let your health refill back up. Cast Devour on corpses as you kill enemies, or channel Siphon Blood to regenerate. Once you get more stacks of Bone Armor, you can start to move forward more aggressively. Cast the Skeletal Mage every few steps and sprinkle in Devour as needed. Just follow the outer perimeter of the dungeon around. Check all the side rooms as you go, so you won't have to return later looking for stragglers. Keep casting Skeletal Mages, even if you don't technically need it for the damage output. You want to keep ratably making progress in the first primary dungeon objective. If your damage output is really high, you might clear the dungeon too quickly if you're not careful, before you can finish the first objective. Also make sure to cast Bone Armor pretty frequently. You'll want to keep its 10 stacks refreshed for its toughness benefit. There, we finished the second primary dungeon objective without any extra effort. We're just leveraging the set mechanics to make progress through the dungeon. Keep uncovering all areas of your minimap. Your life and essence pools will be constantly fluctuating throughout the dungeon, so make sure to keep an eye on them, particularly your health. Be extra cautious around elite monsters. Their attacks can catch you off guard if you don't have a lot of toughness. This path connects back to the dungeon entrance. We'll loop back around to this area, so it's not critical to clear it thoroughly now. And there we finished the first primary dungeon objective. Similar to the other objective, it required no additional effort. We're just leveraging the set mechanics by casting our skills that are needed to kill monsters. Now we can just focus on clearing the remaining enemies. Stay disciplined and keep an eye on your health pool. You don't want to not pay attention and allow it to get too low, where an enemy attack can take you out. Instead of waiting around on corpses for Devour to refill your health, cast Siphon Blood liberally if needed to get refilled and to help do damage to some of the enemies. We've looped back around to the dungeon entrance, so now it's time to clear out the interior rooms. If you cleared all the other rooms as you went, the only remaining enemies should be in this area. Just a few monsters left. And we're done. Good luck trying to finish this one. If you enjoyed the guide and would like to see more content, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching.